Thank you very much. Election interference, huh? That's what this is all about. Ms. Winebanks, there are 4 indictments against Donald Trump, is that right?
Correct.
And all 4 of those investigations started long before he announced his candidacy for president, isn't that right?
That is correct.
And in fact, he announced his candidacy for president 2 years before the election, just so he could bring in 3 witnesses and the entire Republican Party to say, election interference, election interference. These investigations long predated it, and this was a specific and obvious tactic of Donald Trump to be able to make a political defense that will never be allowed in a court of law, as Mr. Trusty and Mr. Costello know full well. And all because he wanted to co-opt this notion of election interference because he's a candidate. But let me tell you what is really election interference. Withholding military aid to an ally in the middle of a war in order to coerce and extort a foreign government to investigate a political opponent. Welcoming a foreign country to illegally interfere in our election and then using that interference for his own benefit, as Donald Trump did with Russia in 2016. Spend a year and a half on a completely bogus impeachment investigation into the president without finding a single piece of evidence of wrongdoing. And in fact, the chairman of this committee said the best evidence of President Biden's wrongdoing was a completely false accusation planted by Russia just before the 2020 election. Interesting timing. As usual, my Republican colleagues on the other side of the aisle are accusing the Democrats of doing all of their misconduct that they engage in over and over and over in an effort to normalize it, in an effort to deflect attention from their own wrongdoing. It is right in authoritarian 101 playbook. But let's talk about this 2-tiered system of justice. Let's talk about lawfare. Mr. Costello, your entire opening statement, as I heard it, was simply to discredit Michael Cohen. Sir, I think you're in the wrong place. Michael Cohen is currently on the witness stand at a trial in Manhattan. And if you have information about Michael Cohen's testimony, you should talk to Donald Trump and his lawyers to see if they want to call you as a witness to impeach Michael Cohen. But you know that coming down here, outside of that courtroom, while that witness is on the stand to try to impeach his credibility and his testimony, is jury tampering. You know it is unethical. You know that you are trying to discredit a current witness at a current trial who is testifying right now outside of that courtroom. You know better, and it is shameful. Mr. Trusty, you and I worked together at the Department of Justice. We had a number of interactions related to organized crime. I had no idea what your politics were. I imagine you had no idea what my politics were, because it doesn't matter. And it's very interesting to hear you now nitpick about the Speedy Trial Act and about what you claim to be unprecedented conduct in Mar-a-Lago. But I'm confident that you never came across anyone who refused a request to voluntarily return classified materials, who refused to comply with a subpoena for those classified materials, who was found to intentionally conceal and hide and obstruct justice by concealing those classified documents. You've never come across, that is unprecedented, I am certain, because that is a clear predicate for a search warrant. When someone obstructs justice, refuses to comply with the subpoena, and Mr. Issa can make up all of the facts that he wants about declaring it to be classified because he thought it or whatever it is, that will be decided in court. All of these cases will be decided in court by a jury based on the facts, evidence, and the law. And all the Republican majority is trying to do here today is lawfare, is interfere in ongoing criminal investigations that our system is perfectly well equipped to handle. And I yield back.